Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Classic Bandit and welcome back to the One Man Podcast. I am joined by Nick Dalton. Nick, welcome first and foremost. How's the weather?
Weather's great. Thank you for having me. It's been very, very hot over here the past week and a half or so.
Yeah, no, I'm in Ireland and since Friday we've been getting a heat wave, and I don't know if you have ever been to Ireland, but we more or less, our summers are rain basically. That's the way our summers go. But since Friday, like yesterday, I think the highest we got was 22 degrees Celsius. I know you're Fahrenheit, and then today was touching 27 degrees. So even the room I'm in now, like I have my PC next to me here, and the screens and the windows here, and now it's about 20 past 9 at night, so it's still fairly warm, like.
Yeah, we've been having some near 100 degrees.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, like you said, Fahrenheit over here, near 100 degrees and mid to low 90s. But some days the humidity makes it feel worse, and it's just been all kinds of crazy. It's been crazy out here. Feels like I'd be living in the South right now.
Oh, come here, come over to Ireland. You'll miss this, trust me.
So Ireland's on my list for countries I want to visit. The closest I've been there or been to it is Scotland, but
why?
I really want to make it over.
I have to ask the question: why Ireland?
It's always been something it's been a country that's fascinated me, and I've had some friends of mine who have gone to visit, and they've told me about their vacations there, and I've seen pictures from there. It looks beautiful, and I want to get out there and visit it. Plus, I'm also a big beer fan, so I want to go visit the Guinness brewery.
Well, you believe it or not, I've lived in Ireland all my life. I've yet to actually visit the brewery itself. Now, I plan on doing this towards the end of this year. But I've passed through the Guinness Gate, I've passed by the Guinness gates. I don't know how many times. I've never actually went in, but that's something like, even for me, that's something I kind of want to do because if I go drinking, the main drink I drink is Guinness. Like, so, well, I'm Irish, so that's my excuse. Right, so I suppose getting into what this podcast is all about is obviously pro wrestling. You were an independent wrestler. Before we get into basically who you're trained by and basically how tough that was or how easy that was, depending on the person. Obviously, for me, I probably died during it. Name one single, I suppose, was it a match before you even decided to become a pro wrestler? What was your earliest memory, I suppose, of pro wrestling? Was it WWE, Ring of Honor, TNA, what?
So it was, I got a cousin of mine who is about 3 or 4 years older than me, and I think when I was about between 5 and 7, we would hang out almost on a regular basis every Saturday or so, and she had the game No Mercy for Nintendo 64,
Yeah.
so I remember playing that a lot with her, and then she had some of the action figures, and they got me into it. So that's my earliest memory, and then really diving into it, I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I just flipped through the channels and landed on SmackDown, and I just started watching religiously ever since.
It's funny you say SmackDown because Miko Maestro, I don't know if you ever met the guy, but when I asked him the same very question, it was SmackDown. For me personally, I can tell you the pay-per-view. I can't remember the whole pay-per-view. I can only remember one match, and whatever it was, when you probably hear what the match was, you'll understand why I got glued in, stuck on pro wrestling. It was King of the Ring. I was sitting at home in the living room, me and my brother. My mum was flicking through channels, and I can remember watching wrestling back in when Hulk Hogan was a big thing in WWE, Jake Roberts. I can't remember match specifics, but this is the earliest I can remember was this. We were sitting at home, flicking through TV, and King of the Ring was on. So we asked my mother, oh, can we watch it? Grand, fine. It was 1998. The match was Hell in a Cell, Mankind versus The Undertaker, where Mankind got.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, and there's not been any other match. There's only been one match come close to make me feel the way I felt about that match, and that was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. And I don't know what it like. As fans, we can kind of get what the other person is saying when we say, I don't know what it was about that particular match or that particular moment that kind of was like, oh my god, this is my shit, like this is my thing, this is what I'm stuck with. Like for me, I always then grew up with, alright, okay, I'm gonna become a pro wrestler, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it, and the truth about it is I never got off my ass and went and said, right, I'm going to do this. I was all talk. Like I can remember, basically there's a fields around the corner from basically the house. We were living in a housing estate. So a group of us all started our own wrestling promotion, the ICW, Irish Championship Wrestling, and basically we're doing moves on each other. Like I can remember getting a suplex to where I landed on my top of my neck, and I was sore for weeks. I couldn't tell my mother, right, oh, this is what happened, because she would actually probably kill me. But like, I can remember one of the other guys got a clothesline for real, like as in he got pushed to the ground by another guy's and busted open everything. But like, I never went into looking into, right, how do I become a pro wrestler, like say with American football, which I'm a massive New England Patriots fan. Oh, you are as well?
Yes. Oh yeah. Patriots play about half hour away from my house.
Shit, I'm not in here. I have jerseys. The truth is we moved into this house about a year ago. This is going to be my / office games room. And as you can tell, I haven't really done a whole lot to it, and I can't remember where I left half the stuff. But no, I'm a massive Patriots fan. Alright, getting off topic for a second. Tom Brady. Tom Brady's gone.
That was a rough day for me.
It was, but no, I'm a massive Brady fan. I'm not. There's no point. I have Brady jersey inside, but I'm open to see. Alright, can Belichick do it without Brady? Like Brady is the best quarterback of all time, better than anyone else, and it's easy for myself or yourself to say it because we're Patriots fans. But he is. There's no one that can come close. He's been to what 8 Super Bowls, won 6, and he hasn't had like the one good year not one good year he had, but one excellent year that he had Super Bowl run with like Randy Moss and Wes Welker. That was the only time he had like those caliber receivers going into a Super Bowl. Like Gronk, you can say he Gronk for 3 of them, but who did he have for the original 3? There was no one you can kind of say, alright, he's a standout. Like Joe Montana had what's his name?
Yeah, Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice. Who did Brady have?
Yeah, for Brady, for those first ones, you had guys like David Gibbons and Deion Branch, and I got to think back too, it's been a while, but and then some tight ends like Christian Fourier and people in the backfield like Kevin Falk for a long time, who was like the third down guy for him. But he's had so many tools throughout his career, and he's been able to help them elevate their game. And new people coming in, whether they're drafted or they get traded to the team or they get signed in the off season or during the season, he was the guy who would help them, especially on the offensive side of the ball, help them get acclimated to the program and help them improve their game and get to a better level than they may have not been at before, may not have had the opportunity to get to had they gone to a different team. But I'm excited for him also. As sad as I am that he's gone, I'm excited to see what he can do with Tampa, with the guys on that team, especially like a Mike Evans and everyone else they have in that core.
their receiver core is dangerous, and with
Yeah.
Brady there, it's even worse. Like I'm glad we're not playing them this year, because
Yeah.
I would love to see Brady return to New England, but same way I don't want him to return and completely destroy. Now I don't think he would destroy New England on the side of not Brady, but I don't think Belichick would allow him to do it, because bear in mind Belichick has coached him for 28 plus years.
Yep.
He knows Brady better than Brady knows Brady.
Mhm.
So personally I don't see it, if it was to happen this year, it'd be a complete shit show where the Patriots get blown out of it. Like I'm actually interested in seeing what way the offense looks like. Like as you said, like Brady Elved is the likes of unknown receivers. For one person, Julian Edelman. If he wasn't on in New England, he wouldn't be in the NFL. And that's my own opinion, because Brady coached him, helped him to develop as he transitioned from a quarterback into a receiver. He sat behind Wes Welker, which, in my opinion, is one of the best slot receivers in the game. Probably in the Wes Welker.
Yeah, and I think that with Edelman, look, after taking over the helm after Welker left, it was a natural fit. One is not just the size, but two, it's he was, like you say, he was groomed for that.
Yeah.
He's become the guy for a slot receiver. He's probably now with Welker not only. I think he's the best slot receiver in the game. Maybe today at this point today.
At this point, yeah. Like all right. Before we get back onto the topic of pro wrestling, because we kind of got off topic, who do you think is going to be the starter in New England? You have Hoyer, Newton, or Stidham?
I don't know. I think it's up in the air. I think we'll just have to wait and see how they do with the training camp workouts.
Yeah.
I know there's no preseason this year, so
that's going to be a bit strange. It's going to be a bit strange, because I used to always watch training camp to see, right? Okay, yeah, he's not going to, sorry, not training camp, but preseason. He's not going to cut it, or you can tell by the first two games of who will and won't stick with it. Like I personally think Newton is the obvious fit. He doesn't have the New England system down, but he knows what it takes to win games. If it's something that New England have never had, is a mobile quarterback. Brady was never a guy that, okay, I can't pass it, where do I go? I run.
Yeah,
Where Newton has that. Newton, right? Okay, I can't. All my weapons are covered. Run. So I actually want Newton to win, to get the starting, just to see, right? Okay, what can we do here? Like, is it going to fit or not? Like, I think they will keep the three quarterbacks, because if Newton fails, like the next one up, in my opinion, is Hoyer, because he knows the system.
Yeah, Hoyer's been there. I think this is his third stint with the team.
Yeah.
But he's always been that guy. But even someone like him, he can help both Stidham and Newton fill in the pieces to what they need to do to get their game up to the level that the team expects them to be at. And I think right now, with Newton being the much younger, experienced guy, Stidham being a much younger, experienced guy, he has the previous season of learning under Tom Brady. But then again, you have a guy like Cam Newton, who is a former MVP of the league. He's been in almost 10 years, or at least 10 years, I want to say. So he has that surprise factor in him with the mobile quarterback aspect. But then again, that's something you're seeing a lot more common these days with guys like Lamar Jackson, or even a Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I think it brings a nice surprise element to the team, that if they do go with Newton and they can perfect that mobile quarterback offense, then I think they'd be able to adapt and probably keep themselves, maybe not at the same level they were with Brady at the helm, but I think still play at a high level um, with a guy like him. And I think again, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens
Exactly. Yeah.
come week one.
No, like I actually prefer Stidham to sit behind Newton and even higher because those two guys have more experience, and even next year be easier because Newton's only signed a year's contract, and realistically, if this year goes is a shit show, we might get a second year a cheaper value again, or if this year is a kind of a year that he really shines, it could be Newton was look for triple or quadruple what he was given this year. So I prefer Stidham to sit behind both Hoyer and Newton, and then next year fight for a starting job, and probably he'd probably get it. To be fair, there wouldn't be anyone else. I don't think they'll draft a quarterback next year anyway. So that's my whole, I suppose, call and take on it. Now, I suppose let's get back into the topic at hand. Right, pro wrestling. Um, who trained you? What I suppose there's multiple parts to this question. Who were you? You were obviously trained by Matt Taven, The Kingdom, and Mike Bennett. I was going to say Canellis. That would be a bad call. Like I haven't followed much. I haven't followed much of The Kingdom, right? But like I've seen enough of Matt Taven. He's a former Ring of Honor world champ. Um, right, Mike Bennett has wrestled literally all over the world with New Japan Pro Wrestling, with obviously Ring of Honor. He was in WWE, which we all know how that went. Like, how was it learning from them and kind of what the fuck? Yeah, decline that one. How was it learning from them and being, I suppose, influenced by them in the way of the way the pro wrestling works? How was that learning from that side of things?
Right. So right before I gotta go a little before the kingdom. That is the majority of my training. The first 5 months, five or yeah, about first 5 months of my training, I started with JT Dunn in Providence, Rhode Island, and I started with a lot of basics for me and learning the ins and outs of wrestling, and then at some point, um, again, 5 months in, the school shut down. I don't know why. I don't remember why. But then from there, I switched to the Kingdom, Taven and Bennett, and that was only about another 10, 15 minutes down the road from the first one in Providence. But learning from Matt, Mike, Vinny, and TK, it's been I've had a lot of fun with it. I've enjoyed it, and you get a different perspective from all of them.
Yeah,
And I know there's some places that I've heard of some places that will have only one person for a trainer, and but I feel that schools that have multiple trainers, it's more of an advantage for people because you get all the different perspectives from the different people.
exactly. Yeah,
For me, yeah, what I've noticed, Matt's kind of like a big picture, like get you ready for TV and the higher level of that. Vinny is very heavy on uh, character, but also on doing a lot of the little intricate details or like little things that make the match go from a good match to a great match. TK is big on the wrestling aspect of the pure like grappling and all that. Um, Bennett's kind of for me. Bennett's kind of a combination of all those guys rolled into one, but even still has his own different way
yeah,
of teaching. And obviously he hasn't been around in the past 2 3 years. I think he moved. he moved away from New England around the time that he signed with WWE, but he still will come back every now and then, pop in and say hello. But yeah, I've found that I've learned a lot from all of them.
Yeah, because the one thing, like, even speaking with Miko that in episode 1, he was saying that, like, he's went to training seminars. But as you were saying there, and I actually agree. Now, I've never actually went to a training school or anything, seen the setup, but I would more or less agree with yourself in saying you're better off getting perspectives from multiple different people, because or some bit of training from multiple different people in a way, because like your outlook is going to be different to my outlook, to his outlook, to she's outlook. So you're obviously always better off to kind of, I suppose, in that aspect, if you're going to a training school, going to one where there's 2 to 3 trainers. If you're lucky, you might get 4 trainers, as you have. Like that look, I actually would 100% agree on, because realistically, like, I could say something to you and you'd be like, no, 100% you're wrong. This is the way you do it, and then someone else could be saying 2 of us are wrong and this is the way. So it's always better to kind of look at it, get a few different people showing you the same thing but their ways, and then you mold it into your way. That way you're going on the right track and path and whatnot.
And also and even with schools with just with one trainer, you can still have the ability to learn from the other people that are there with training, because there may be some people who have an experience level close to the person who is the head trainer there. They can bring in a bunch of different guests too to help out with that. So it's really all depends on the school itself. But I mean, even with, like you said, with seminars too, I've attended seminars as well, and no matter what, it's always going to be something where you're going to learn something
from each thing.
Anyone as much as you possibly can.
Now, we move on, I suppose, to like your first match. Can you remember who it was against? And like that, I suppose the initial feeling coming out of the curtain before even the match started. How was that?
So the first, we'll go first actual, because my first 3 matches were all battle royals. But my first actual match,
singles match.
First singles. So my first match was actually a tag match.
Okay.
And it was myself and my partner goes by Ryan Gosselin, and our opponents were Joe. I don't remember the rest of his name. I know his first name was Joe, and his partner was actually a New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, Sweet Scott Ashworth.
Okay.
And it was a show up in Massachusetts, and I was the typical nerves. I was nervous first match doing this. Am I going to be okay? And Ashworth and his partner were really good to us, and I remember once getting in there after the initial nerves shook off. Once I came through the curtain, everything suddenly felt fine for me, and then getting in there, I actually wound up having a lot of fun with that one, and it was my nerves were taken off a lot more too as it went on, because I found that okay, this isn't as crazy as I maybe anticipated it was going to be. So it's one that I like looking back on. I like remembering that.
Yeah. Now the one thing as well that strikes me about yourself with promos. So there's a promo on your Instagram. I'll have it linked down below in the description for everyone to check it out. But I actually have to. I have to now. I'm not big into independent wrestling. I've only started to get big into it in the last couple of months. Getting into it in the last couple of months, and I have to admit, the promo you did, it was what was this? I had it up there a second ago. So this is something I actually wanted to say, that Jesus, it was actually, you were on point with the whole thing. Like, it was so good. No, and and I'm not just trying to blow smoke now, but it was the Danny Attenum ran his mouth. It's that promo you did. Like, I don't know what it was. It was just one of those things that will give you chills. Like, it was done exactly. Like, I've seen other guys' Instagrams and they've cut promos, and you're just, it's. I don't want to bash anyone, so I'm not mentioning names, but it's just, it's cringeworthy. Where that, it was kind of, it was short and sweet, and it's gotten to the point, and anyone watching this would be like, Jesus, okay, I'm tuning into this. This is going to be something good, like. And I'll have a link down below so people can check it out. Also, at the end of the video, your Pro Wrestling Tees, your Instagram, your Twitter, I'm going to have all that linked anyway down below. So I suppose you're only into your career, realistically, you're only into the start of your career right now. If you were given 4 contracts in front of you, one was for Ring of Honor, one was for WWE, obviously NXT, one was for Impact, and the other one was for AEW. Now they're all pretty much the same contracts. Who would you sign for and why?
It's a big question.
You see, this is the thing, right? Right. Before you answer, I'm gonna answer for myself. Obviously, I'm not a pro wrestler, not independent wrestler. I would actually sign for probably either NXT or AEW. NXT, reason why. Triple H would have me, he would know, right, this is what you do with him, bang. AEW, you're left to do your own thing. And from what I can see, for the most part, you're left to do your own thing. So if it's something working for you on the independent scene, like Orange Cassidy, for example, if it's working for you, then roll with it. But the problem is, if you're kind of messing around with your character, still you can get lost in the shuffle. So, like, out of those two, if I narrowed it down again, it would be obviously NXT. That's just me because I'm a WWE fanboy, and I guarantee I'm going to have someone in the comments saying, "Oh, well, you're a WWE fanboy."
Yeah, for me, I probably want to. If I had to choose, I'd probably say Ring of Honor. One for me is my trainers are there.
Yeah.
So the chance for me the ability to have the opportunity to work with them would be amazing for me. I think I really that'd be something I'd really want. And it's something that I think it would just be different because I know a lot of people are WWE. It's been that way for a long time, and now with a lot more options, like you said, with AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, so many places. There's so many options. I think it can even. It's somewhat in a similar aspect for all of them, where you have these certain people of a certain stature in the companies, like WWE. You would have a Triple H or Ring of Honor, you have guys like the Briscoes or Taven, and others there. Impact, you have people like Eddie Edwards and Moose who have been there for a long time. AEW, you've got Cody, you've got the Bucks, you get the whole elite, all of them. Plus other people that they've brought in too. You have all of these different people in all these major promotions around the world that can offer so much more to help you out, and also the wrestlers that are there can give you so much more to elevate your game, so you don't feel like you're having you may feel like you're having the same match over and over again, and then you get in the ring with somebody and all of a sudden it switches and like, that was different, and now you just start thinking of things in a different way.
Yeah, again, I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm a WWE guy. I've always been WWE during the Monday Night Wars. I've always been WWE. But the one thing I've seen so much, be it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, people complaining about WWE or Ring of Honor, but they're spoiled for choice, and that's all it is. Like, as you said, for a long time it was always one place, one destination, WWE. Now you have 4. for me, like pro wrestling it's never going to get to the heights it was during Monday Night Wars. Let's face it, we're never going back there. But this could be as good as we're going to get, or even it'll double what it is doing right now. But like you have so much. Like I can remember a time there where I was watching Impact, Ring of Honor, and WWE all in the same week. Now I can't watch all four at the moment. I barely can keep up with WWE with the fact of my girlfriend's pregnant, with the house, with working. I don't have time. Like I was looking there trying to find a channel on YouTube to where I can fast track through basically the important stuff for WWE, for Ring of Honor, for everything, just because I want to keep up to date with all this stuff. Because obviously you're interested in it, you're going to try and get as much hours in as possible. But like back to the whole statement, I suppose for myself, I think people are too, I suppose, greedy. Or I want it a certain way. AEW isn't doing it this week for me, or either is WWE, but Ring of Honor is. I'll go watch. It's like just be happy with what you're getting. Like WWE right now is really doing a shit job, but they're trying something new with the whole Retribution angle, the new group that they're introducing only this past week. Like, so I'm happy that they're trying something new. Like,
yeah, and it's you can't please everybody with everything, and everyone's gonna have their own opinions on stuff, and that's totally fine. And it's maybe a promotion that someone likes. If they love everything that's happening there, they may be upset with some things, and it's okay to not like certain things about one thing, but you don't have to like. No one says you have to like every single thing in this one.
Exactly.
And I mean, I even think that with now during the whole pandemic, it's a good time for these places to really try and flex their creative muscles, so to speak, with the new underground
Raw Underground
that introduced WWE, and how AEW's been doing with their not just with the social distancing shows in general, but also the aspect of having some sort of a crowd there. Now WWE's been picking up on that, and you see it with Impact still doing their MC Arena, and I think it's a good time for creativity. It's really helping them expand on that.
Now,
really offer as much as they can given the circumstances.
Well, no, exactly. Like, speaking of the whole pandemic, like, how has that affected yourself for booking, or has it affected you much with the whole trying to get bookings or anything like that?
It's, I mean, everything's shut down here back in March, and things have slowly been coming back within the past month, I've noticed. But I think it's still a little ways off from getting back on a somewhat regular schedule.
Yeah.
But I think it's still even that a good distance from getting back to what it was beforehand.
Yeah. Now
it's unfortunate, but
it has to be done. It has to be, like, with the whole pandemic going on. It has to be done. Like, I'm working in retail, so like I haven't been off at all. I've been working, even doing double shifts at times. So like. Trust me, you'd be happy that you don't have to work in retail, because that ain't nice. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, but Chris Jericho's rock band Fozzy had a concert in North Dakota last night.
Okay.
They had mosh pits, they had no social distancing, anything like that. Now, I've seen on Facebook all day, people are freaking out and all that. Like, in my personal opinion, right, obviously the concert should have been cancelled. That's a given. He's going to receive major backlash, be it could wind up backlash more in AEW for himself as well. I don't know, because he's such a big name. What do you make of it?
I mean, concerts and everything at this point in time, I think if it was obviously if it was more within the lines of social distancing, then yes, it would have been a better situation. It's the large gatherings like concerts and parties and other events. It's a rough thing. It's not really something doable right now. know that there's been some shows in for wrestling. I've heard of a few events in New York and New Jersey that were done, I believe, done in drive-in movie theaters where the fans had to stay in their cars, but the action was still going on. I think they might have even projected the matches up on the screen so everyone could still see it. So
that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, there's different ways, and I know some other places are doing like events where if you're with, say, a group of 5 people, okay, your group's here, and then about 6 to 8 feet away over here, there's the next group of 5, and so on and so forth. So there's places that are adapting to it, and in different ways, and still trying to keep their fans able to
enjoy the show. Yeah. Like the driving movie theater thing, that's a good idea because right, you arrive in your car, even if there's a car right next to you, it's not going to affect you too much because it could be one person in that car. So you're in the driver's seat here, he's in the driver's seat over there. You're still 2-3 meters away anyway, and realistically, he's not going to be walking to you. You're not going to be walking to him. So you're still enjoying the show, but also you can still do the whole social distancing aspect of it. So I actually do like that idea. I'm shocked more independent places haven't done it. Now, obviously, we're in the summer, so once it goes into the winter side of things, I'd say that's even off the table because wrestling in a snowstorm.
Unless people want to go out in freezing weather and covered in snow, wrestle around.
Oh, come here! Stranger things have happened.
Very true.
Speaking of matches, ignore the promotion. If you had a chance to wrestle someone that you wanted to wrestle in the morning, who would that wrestler be, and what would the stipulation be? Would it be a straight singles match, or would you want to go a little bit further and maybe have a TLC tables match, Hell in a Cell? What?
I would probably say probably go with the Undertaker, and I think it just either a regular singles match or have a feud with him that culminates in a casket match.
Casket match, okay.
He's been my all-time favorite ever since I started watching wrestling, and just seeing all the matches that he's had throughout his career. Like you mentioned, the King of the Ring with Mankind, the matches with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, just
even the matches with Triple H. Like any right, ignore the last, I suppose, 5-6 years, but any match he's had prior to that, if it's been a younger talent, be it Edge or Randy Orton, he's elevated those guys and made them look 10 times better than they actually physically are. Now, I'm an Orton fan and I'm an Edge fan, like, so for me, like, I suppose for me, I'd have to pick either Undertaker or Triple H. I'd probably go more with Triple H because Triple H for me is my all-time favorite wrestler throughout all the generations. When I started watching, he became the leader without Shawn Michaels of the Generation X. That was with China, New Age Outlaws, and X-Pac. So I can remember him from that time to what he is now, and I think he can still put on an excellent match no matter what. Like, if he goes in the ring with someone, he'll elevate them. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, it was the last pay-per-view before the WrestleMania where he wrestled Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. It was WWE Roadblock. It was a glorified house show, but it was him versus Dean Ambrose. And like Dean Ambrose, for those of you who don't know who Dean Ambrose is, John Moxley. John Moxley, Dean Ambrose came out and on a podcast recently had said that basically the way WWE like to do it is script the matches, right? This is what you're allowed to do. You do this, and this, yada yada yada. That's the way to do it. but he was called basically by, I think it was Michael P.S. Hayes into Triple H's locker room, and Triple H basically said, look, what do you want to do out there? We'll call it out there. It was a kind of an old school kind of match where they call this in the ring, and that's one of the things that I think is missing from pro wrestling right now. It's just too much, especially in WWE, because there's too much of, right, go out and do this or go out and say this. Like if they said, right, this is what you're allowed, this is what you're not allowed to do, this is not what you're not allowed to say. You fill in the blanks. I think they would have a by far better product than what they're having right now. But like, I just the roadblock match with Dean Ambrose, I just thought that it wasn't a 5-star match or anything like that, but I just think it was a good solid match, and the both of them kind of read the match through the fans, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you got a guy. You have a guy like Triple H who's been around a long time, and he's one of the best of all time. He's going to be a Hall of Famer someday. And a guy like Mox or Ambrose, as he was then, Mox is in his own way also very good. And way to work with a guy of the stature of Triple H, it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna help elevate your game, and it makes for an interesting matchup. And it's good to hear that they came out on top. They came out with a good one after that.
Yeah, like with John Moxley or Dean Ambrose, like his early days of the Shield, for example, I thought like the promos he was cutting, like you can remember the meme years ago when the Shield first came out. Nope. He didn't need to say much. It was just the way his body language when he said something, and I just thought like when he first won the US title, when they all won, I can't remember the pay-per-view, but I know Ambrose won the US title and the two Reigns and Rollins won the tag belts. I just thought like these are three men that are all WWE champions. Let's face it, they were all going to go that direction. But I thought Dean Ambrose was probably the better out of the three. And like I'm a Seth Rollins fan. I'm not going to say I'm not a Rollins fan. I am, but I personally think Dean Ambrose, John Moxley is a by far better talker than Ambrose is, or sorry, than Rollins is. And even performer in the ring, like Rollins is excellent. There's no point me saying anything different. He is excellent. He's one of the best in the ring as well. But I just think Moxley or Ambrose has that step ahead. And I actually I was kind of disappointed with the run they gave Dean Ambrose with the title. Like I love the fact Rollins came back with Money in the Bank. Dean won the Money in the Bank briefcase hours earlier. They had the whole thing of Rollins winning the title, then Ambrose's music hits, he hits him with the back, he gets the title. So that night, 3 of the Shield members had the WWE Championship at one stage. And I just thought they had a very, very poor run, and I know it was going into the brand split, and they're probably, with creative, was going all over the place at the time, whatever. But it was very disappointing as a fan of Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, that they fucked up his run with the title. Like what he's doing now in AEW, and this is one of the main reasons why I started watching AEW was because he's in it. Like, I'm a massive Chris Jericho fan, but like when John Moxley showed up at Double or Nothing, I was like, okay, I'm watching this, and even the way they've handled John Moxley up until this point has been perfect. Like he's undefeated since he's become AEW champion. Undefeated, defending the belt, and I just think WWE shot themselves in the foot. They missed the beat massively with him. That like this guy could have been bigger than what Rollins is, really, because I think they're putting all their eggs in their basket with Rollins at the moment, because with all the other talent being out, like of Reigns and whatnot. So like I've ranted too much, or I'm just stopping. Right. SummerSlam. Have you been keeping up with WWE at all? As well.
I have admittedly been slacking on keeping up with it. What I do know though is that I believe it's the Fiend and Braun Strowman for the championship. Um, Dominic, Rey Mysterio's son, is wrestling Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah, that one that seems interesting to me. I know he's trained, and he's
Yeah,
been
Lance
getting
Storm trained
involved.
him.
Yeah, yep, he's been trained by Lance Storm. Great move right there. And he's been involved with the storyline between his father and Seth Rollins for the past couple of months. So it's gonna be for me. It'll be interesting to see that because I don't know if he had a lot of matches prior to the storyline. Um,
I don't think he
but
had any.
but at the same time, you look at his father and all that his father has done. His father is certainly one of the best. Um, and a guy like Seth Rollins, who right now is one of the top guys in the promotion there, I think it's a perfect recipe for him to get a huge jump um, in his career and what he could do. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that match with the Fiend and Strowman. That'll be another interesting one. I don't know if they'll do another cinematic one like they did
Yeah,
recently. I believe it was Extreme Rules was the last one.
yeah.
And then
They swamp
yeah,
match.
yep. And because they did a lot of cool things with that, like bringing back Strowman when he was first in the Wyatt family
Yeah.
for a second, and all those other moments that they had with Bray dressed up how he used to be.
Like
So
like with that match, like I love the way they brought Alexa Bliss into it, and like she's kind of getting intertwined with that feud now. And I actually, with that match itself, I I I have a funny feeling Alexa Bliss is going to be involved, and she's going to turn into a rendition. And I know this has been said so many times, a rendition of Sister Abigail.
mhm.
And I'm actually, I'm not a fan of Braun. It's no point saying I am. I'm not. I think they shot themselves in the foot about 2 years ago when they should put the belt on him, and they never did. And now they're trying to do damage control with him, and they're trying to make him bigger than he actually is. When they had him at the height that he was, they should have pushed the button there and said, right, put the be it the WWE title on him or the Universal, put it on him, put him on a run, and we'll see how it goes. He was a last ditch effort over the whole Roman Reigns not being able to go to WrestleMania thing, and now they are doing stuff with him, which is excellent, but I think he's only a placeholder, and I actually think he's going to drop the title at SummerSlam with Bray the Fiend picking up the win. But I do think Alexa's gonna turn heel, but a dark type of heel where she's gonna align herself with the Fiend and Bray Wyatt. Like when Bray Wyatt comes along in the Firefly Funhouse, she'll be regular old Alexa Bliss, but Dark Alexa, let's call her, will only appear with the Fiend, which I think that'll help her because for the last few years, like I love her as a champion. I think she's excellent. She's better as a heel than a babyface by far. Whatever it is, it's just the cockiness. I just think she's better as a heel, and I just think kind of to add to that is make her kind of a darker heel, where like Bray is a heel that you love to hate type thing. You can't just hate him. It reminds me a lot of the Undertaker as the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker, where
he, he's got that whole he had that whole like cult leader factor to
yeah,
him with the original Wyatt family. Now it's a different part of him. It's like a different part of his psyche. But he definitely has that mystique about him. And I think with Alexa Bliss too, like, as you said, she's got that attitude. She's a great heel. And I've been a fan of her work as a heel too. Just even her promo skills. I think she's one of the better promos in the women's women's division there.
Oh, no doubt. Like,
and I think the two of them, it would be a very unique pairing, but I think that could work out.
but that's why I actually hope they push the button and say, right, we'll go with it, because like I've watched wrestling since 1998. Like, you've watched wrestling since whenever, right? Can you tell me that there's not been has there ever been a time where you've been saying, all right, okay, I'm interested in seeing what will they do with this, and they never done it? This is something that I have a funny feeling that they won't do it for being WWE being WWE, but I would love to see them do it and see what way they can turn it, because if they do it and have it going into going into WrestleMania, where maybe Alexa breaks out of the spell or whatever and costs the Fiend the title, then regardless of who it's against, I think it'd be a perfect, I suppose, final chapter of that whole storyline.
I think there's so many different possibilities that they could go with this. And I know they're just in the very beginning stages of it, so if they do decide to run with it, I think it'll be a very interesting thing that they go with, and I would be interested to see how they would progress that.
Yeah, like another match that's on the card, which this is kind of the match that really sold me on the pay-per-view, is Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, now I'm a massive fan of Randy Orton. I think what he did when he was feuding with Triple H, with the whole Punk kick and Legacy was involved, I think that was his best work to that point. But I think what he's doing right now is probably his best work ever. Like, he's going back into that sick, twisted, demented mind set. Like, he's already taken out Edge and Christian, a big show. The next likelihood is Drew McIntyre. Now, I saw one report, I think 2 weeks ago, that management is blaming Drew McIntyre for low ratings. The usual bullshit that WWE come up with. Blame the title holders, what have you. But I actually think the two of them, so far, they've been on point with the way they've been telling the story. The story's only started 2 weeks ago. Like, Drew McIntyre's promo this past week's Raw, I thought was excellent, because it was more shoot than a promo. This is the way the promos should be, kind of make it more realistic, more real, to leave it play out that kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think with McIntyre, when he got released the first time, he's completely reinvented himself.
Yeah.
From that point, and he's vastly improved himself from there. So I think he's deserving of the spot where he is right now. And now that he's got a guy like Randy facing him in a few weeks for SummerSlam, I think that could be a really good match too.
Yeah.
Randy's been in for a long time. Close to 20 years himself, I believe, and just the amount of talent both of those guys have, I think it'll be a really good clash between the two of them.
No, I agree. Now, the next question is, who you got to pick a winner? Who do you pick and why?
Who do I pick in that one?
Yeah.
I would want to see McIntyre win. Not only do I want to see what else they could do with him as champion, but I also don't want that to be like feud. Randy wins. Okay, one more rematch and that's it.
Yeah.
I want to see Randy keep chasing McIntyre. Maybe throw in some other different twists and turns along the way, ultimately leading to something maybe where it culminates in Survivor Series.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that. But I'd like to see this feud stretched out a little more to see what else what they can do between McIntyre and Randy.
Like, it is interesting to see what they can do with it. Now, what I would agree, I do want Drew to win, but what I think they should do to kind of prolong this rivalry even more is have someone interfere, someone like Christian interfere cost Randy the match. Where alright, Drew McIntyre retains the title by pinning obviously Orton, but then that could give a kind of some bit of a break between Orton and Drew for even going into WrestleMania season. Because that's, I know they're talking about having Edge versus Orton, but if that can't happen, have a kind of, I suppose, a backup plan, because the storyline hasn't been closed off. It's still open, but Randy's gone after Christian, so someone else has come back after Drew. So that's what I'd like to see play out. But as you said, like, if it culminates at Survivor Series, it draws you more into Survivor Series. Hell, you could even get it into WrestleMania. Like, if Orton picks up the win at Survivor Series, Drew McIntyre goes on a rampage, wins the Royal Rumble again, and then challenges Randy and beats Randy again. Like, Drew McIntyre, personally, for me, is not a bad champion. He's by far a better champion than when they put the title on Jinder Mahal. Like, I originally loved the fact that they put the title on him. So I was saying stuff, alright, they can do something here. But then they left it flop. Like, he should have dropped the title 2 months prior to that, and then it would have kept him where he was, and he could come back and fight for more, if that makes sense. Like, the other matches actually on the card, Bailey and Sasha Banks will find out who they're facing in, because there's going to be a battle royal. I think one's going to be on Raw and one's going to be on SmackDown. Basically, women from all three brands are going to be involved. Personally, I have a funny feeling Rhea Ripley is going to win one of those battle royals, because there is rumours that she's going to be called up, and to be honest, who's there for her to have a good feud with left in NXT that she hasn't feuded with already? Like, I don't want to see her against Io Shirai, because I just think leave Io, like Asuka, leave Io where she is for a year with the title, have her go on not even an undefeated streak, but have her going on a streak where she picks up 5 or 6 wins, loses again 5 or 6 wins type thing. I'd prefer just to see Rhea Ripley come up to the main roster and see what they can do with her really there.
I think on that, if there's someone I'd want to see in one of those pictures, it'd probably be a Rhea Ripley or Shayna Baszler, or Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
I think that with Rhea's match with Charlotte at WrestleMania this year was amazing, and she pretty much leading up to her winning the championship in NXT last year, she really showed that she could be a star.
Yeah.
And she's a star in her own right, and I think that she would do some really, really good things up on the main roster, and kind of change the game a little bit in the women's division there. But then you also had Shayna Baszler, who for about collectively 2 years was a dominant, brutal, just no BS force in that women's division in NXT. She was a pretty fighter. I mean, just tapped into who she was before, or brought her background from UFC into WWE, and just did a bunch of stuff with that. And then the added element of Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir behind her in the last couple of months down there, I think was even better, because she had more people. She had people who do some of her dirty work, but then she could also do the dirty stuff herself.
Yeah, back it up, type thing.
Back up everything that she said and did. And then Bianca Belair, I think, with some of the high-profile matches that she had in the past year down in NXT, she has really impressed a lot. She was very impressed in the Royal Rumble this year too for the women. And I'm hoping that they can do something. They do something more with her, because I could see some good things for her. Down the road if they were to call her up.
You haven't. That was another thing I was going to bring up. You haven't heard about the live stream. I think it was last night. Who was it? Selena Vega was live streaming with. She's a ring announcer, and basically obviously live stream on Twitch, and Bianca Belair. It's obviously it was all a setup. Bianca Belair attacked her in her own home. You didn't hear anything about that?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it happened last night. From what I didn't, I only read little bits and pieces, but basically there was live stream. Belair broke into the house and attacked Vega on live stream. This is obviously all a setup to probably something that's going to happen tomorrow night on Raw, which that was last week's by the time everybody's watching this. But I actually like, if they're going to start doing more of this type of thing, interrupting live streams and whatnot, and even with Belair, like I think even Baszler and Belair, since they came up to main roster, they haven't been used properly. Like, for example, Baszler should have won the title at WrestleMania. There's like if they knew about Becky prior to WrestleMania, they should say, right, look, let's go with Baszler and see where this gets us. With Belair, they could put her with Street Profits, which I think that's what they're going with now, and do something with her there against like Garza, Almos, and Vega. That's a recipe for success, to be honest, because Belair would fit in with the Street Profits, in my opinion. Like, she just has that swagger about her. She can fit in. It's a kind of an almost cockiness, but a cockiness that you love.
They've got the three of them have some very fun personalities. I think you'd be right in that. They mold well together. And I mean, what Vega's done with all the people that she's been managing since she's been on the roster, I think she's done a great job as that. Probably one of the better managers they have right now.
Yeah, in recent time, yeah.
And it's an interesting mix of styles with Andrade and Garza. You have the lucha backgrounds for them, and then you have the more like the WWE or like Americanized backgrounds for the guys in the Street Profits. So it's an interesting clash right there. But then even with like you said, with Baszler should have won at WrestleMania. I agree. I would have liked to see her beat Becky then, and then maybe with Asuka cashing in on her, maybe build a little something where it would have been Baszler and Asuka for the championship. I would still like to see that, because I think that's a very, very interesting matchup between those two styles.
Yeah. Like, one thing I didn't like with the way they played that all out. Like, I still stand by what I said, that Baszler should have won in Mania, but they just handed Asuka the belt basically, and it was no context before the match. There was nothing saying this is for the women's championship or Raw Women's Championship. This is for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It was booked as that, and I personally think that what they should have done was, right, Becky needs to drop it at Mania. Like, even Becky Lynch has come out and said that she petitioned to have the belts go on to Baszler at WrestleMania. Like, if they had Baszler win at WrestleMania, they could have went on and did something else, even leave Asuka with the briefcase up until around now, have her cash in prior Extreme Rules, for example, and have a match set up between her and Baszler again for SummerSlam. That's already set up. Now, I do like the fact that they've put the belt on Sasha Banks. I am a massive Banks fan. I personally think since she's come onto the main roster that she's been misbooked every step of the way. Like, the persona she had in NXT should have been the one that carried over onto the main roster, and even tweak it a little bit, but keep her as a heel as long as you can. Like, they've mishandled so many different, I suppose, guys and girls coming from NXT up, that it's kind of hard to pick out ones that they've actually managed to do the proper job with. Right. Is there anything else? right. I suppose to wrap it up, I'm going to have basically, guys, I'm going to have yourselves, Nick, all your social medias linked down below with your pro wrestling tees, shop down there. Guys, go buy a t-shirt. Buy one fucking now. Do I get commission on that? No. Also, go head over to his Instagram, follow it over there, follow Twitter, follow basically anything will be linked down below. Guys, thanks for watching. Shall see you in the next one. Peace.